man worshipped as Liverpool's king, Kenny Dalglish, sure made a lot of enemies. Not the kind you make by accident. These were calculated, cold-blooded betrayals. 5 men felt the sting of Dalglish's loyalty when it suited him, and his ruthlessness when it didn't. This isn't a story about petty grudges. This is about power, pride, and the dark side of a legend. Let's uncover the 5 relationships that exposed Kenny Dalglish for who he really was. Souness, the friend turned rival. Start with the most painful one. Souness wasn't just Dalglish's teammate. He was his roommate. For years, these 2 Scottish warriors shared hotel rooms across Europe, winning everything there was to win. Souness was the enforcer in midfield. Dalglish was the creator up front. Together, they built Liverpool's most dominant era. But their relationship was never smooth. Souness himself admitted they had 1,000 arguments while rooming together. 1,000. That's not friendship. That's friction barely held together by success. Think about what that means. Most people don't have 1,000 arguments with their enemies. But Souness and Dalglish, they fought constantly about tactics, about teammates, about everything. Their bond was prickly from the start, and that tension was always going to explode eventually. When Dalglish shocked everyone by resigning as Liverpool manager in February 1991, he left the team 3 points clear at the top and still in the FA Cup. Nobody saw it coming. The pressure of Hillsborough had broken him. He walked away from a winning team, and into that void stepped Souness. Liverpool called, Souness answered. One legend replaced another. But what Souness did next destroyed everything Dalglish had built. He didn't just take over, he tore it apart. Souness saw rot where others saw glory. He believed the senior players Dalglish left behind lacked passion and cared too much about money. So he started swinging the axe. His managerial style was authoritarian, dictatorial, ruthless. He dismantled the boot room philosophy that had made Liverpool great for decades. That sacred system of continuity and loyalty. Souness threw it in the bin. He questioned Dalglish's transfer policies openly. He even sold Peter Beardsley, a key part of Dalglish's legendary 1987-88 title-winning side, to cross-city rivals Everton. That wasn't just bad business. That was a statement. Souness was saying everything Dalglish did was wrong. Every decision, every signing, all of it needed destroying and rebuilding from scratch. And he failed. Spectacularly. Souness's reign is remembered as the moment Liverpool got knocked off their perch. His transfer market moves were disasters. His revolution flopped in the most public way possible. Years later, Souness admitted his management soured his relationship with Liverpool supporters forever. But the damage to Dalglish's legacy was already done. Souness saw cracks appearing in Dalglish's final years and tried to fix them by burning the house down. But all he did was prove that Dalglish's methods were right all along. The professional distance between them was ideological. Souness rejected everything Dalglish stood for, and Dalglish never forgave him. His closest friend had taken everything he built and declared it worthless. Patrice Evra, the enemy by association. Now let's talk about the Luis Suarez saga, because this is where Dalglish's blind loyalty turned him into something ugly, something paranoid. Patrice Evra never did anything to Kenny Dalglish, but Dalglish made Evra his enemy anyway. Why? Because Evra accused Luis Suarez of racial abuse in October 2011. The FA investigated. The hearing concluded the charge was proven. Suarez got an 8-match ban and a £40,000 fine. Case closed, right? Not for Dalglish. Dalglish went to war. Total war. He became angry in press conferences, visibly furious. He was irritated by persistent questioning from journalists who dared to suggest maybe his player had done something wrong. He actively fanned the flames. He turned it into an us-against-the-world battle, Liverpool versus everyone. And Dalglish positioned himself as the general. When the squad wore T-shirts supporting Suarez during the warm-up at Wigan in December, it was bizarre and misjudged. The optics were terrible, but Dalglish defended it. Aggressively, he insisted the players hadn't caused any trouble. He was in complete denial because supporting Suarez was the only thing that mattered. The racism charge, irrelevant. The victim, irrelevant. Only Suarez mattered. Then came the handshake snub. When Suarez returned from his ban, he refused to shake Evra's hand before the match at Old Trafford. The cameras caught it. The world saw it. And Dalglish's post-match interview was a disaster. He was robust, controversial, dripping with paranoia and blind bias. He tried to shift blame to the media. He doubled down on his pig-headed denials. He acted like Liverpool were being persecuted. Liverpool's American owners, Fenway Sports Group, had seen enough. They forced Suarez and Dalglish to apologise immediately. Dalglish was humiliated publicly. He issued an apology admitting he did not conduct himself in a way befitting a Liverpool manager. Those words must have burned, because Dalglish didn't believe he'd done anything wrong, but the damage was done. Dalglish's defence of Suarez was so total, so illogical, so obsessive that it critically undermined anti-racism efforts. It brought the club into disrepute. And Patrice Evra? He was just collateral damage in Dalglish's siege mentality. Evra became the other, the enemy, simply because he stood in the way of Dalglish's blinding loyalty to one player. Evra didn't matter as a person, as a victim. He was just an obstacle. If you think that was harsh, wait till you see how he turned on players who once worshipped him. Before we go there, let me know in the comments. Do you think loyalty in football even exists anymore? And of course, subscribe so you don't miss the next story. Steven Gerrard, captain who lost faith. Steven Gerrard loved Kenny Dalglish, wanted him as Liverpool's permanent manager, publicly campaigned for it, called their bond a marriage blessed in heaven. Dalglish was his hero. But the Suarez saga broke that marriage. It exposed the limits of Dalglish's leadership, and it showed everyone that even the captain had doubts. Before the handshake scandal, Gerrard spoke publicly. He said he would speak to Suarez. His advice would be to shake hands and move on. That was pragmatic. That was smart. Gerrard understood that the longer this dragged on, the worse it would get. He wanted to end it, but that was the exact opposite of what Dalglish was doing. Dalglish was defiant, combative, obsessed with defending Suarez at all costs. He refused to back down. He refused to compromise. The gap between manager and captain was growing. Even Liverpool's rivals noticed. Sir Alex Ferguson called Dalglish's support of Suarez ridiculous. Ferguson believed the mishandling of the entire affair was a significant factor in Dalglish's eventual sacking. He was right, because in April 2012, during a loss to Newcastle, the world saw the symbolic collapse of Dalglish's authority. When goalkeeper Pepe Reina got sent off, Dalglish marched onto the pitch and Gerrard shooed him off it, literally waved him away, a captain telling his manager to back off, in front of thousands of fans, in front of cameras broadcasting to millions. That moment was everything. Showed a manager who had lost control of his owners, the narrative, and his own captain. Gerrard, the loyal servant, club legend, the man who bled Liverpool red, had publicly undermined his manager. Not because he wanted to, but because he had to. Because Dalglish's obsessive defence of one player had cost him the respect of everyone else. And Ferguson was right. It contributed directly to his dismissal in May 2012. Andy Carroll, £35 million betrayal. Andy Carroll was supposed to be Dalglish's marquee signing. £35 million. Club record. January 2011. Dalglish backed him publicly, shielded Carroll from media criticism. When England manager Fabio Capello publicly questioned Carroll's fitness and said he needs to drink less, Dalglish defended him. Fiercely, he took responsibility, claiming the club put too much pressure on Andy. Dalglish was loyal, or so it seemed. Carroll struggled. The goals didn't come easily. Dalglish kept backing him. In press conferences, he dismissed the criticism. He insisted it was unfair. Carroll time. Publicly, it looked like Dalglish was standing by his man. 1 year later, January 2012, the truth came out. Liverpool offered Andy Carroll to Manchester City in a straight swap for Carlos Tevez. No negotiation, no warning, and here's the worst part. It was done without the knowledge of Carroll or his representatives. Carroll found out through the media. His own club had tried to get rid of him behind his back. Manchester City's Brian Marwood rejected the proposal immediately, but the damage was done. All those public defences, lies. All that loyalty, fake. Dalglish had been protecting his own reputation, not Carroll's career. When the story broke, Dalglish denied everything, dismissed the confirmed reports as speculative. He insisted Carroll was very happy, but sources confirmed Carroll's camp was unimpressed. Anfield's source was quoted saying players like Andy have not adapted to the Liverpool way. Translation? We don't want him anymore. Carroll's frustration became public. He stormed down Newcastle's tunnel, swearing, after being substituted in April 2012. The relationship had completely broken down, and when Dalglish was sacked, Carroll was shooed out the door just as unceremoniously. Carroll was loaned out, then sold. A £35 million mistake. The friction was duplicity. Dalglish publicly defended his record signing while privately trying to dump him for Tevez. That's not loyalty. That's managerial ruthlessness disguised as protection. Carroll was a disposable asset, and when he stopped being useful, Dalglish tried to get rid of him behind his back. No conversation, no honesty, just betrayal. John Aldridge, the echo from the past, is where it gets really ugly, because Dalglish did this before, and he did it to someone who loved Liverpool more than anyone. John Aldridge was a boyhood Liverpool supporter, a lifelong Red. Dalglish sold Ian Rush to Juventus in 1987. He signed Aldridge as his replacement. The dream came true, and Aldridge delivered. He was prolific, record-breaking. He spearheaded the 1987-88 title-winning team, 29 goals in his first full season, 31 in his second, 63 goals in 104 appearances. He was a machine. Fans loved him. He was one of them. A Scouser. Red, living the dream. But in the summer of 1988, Dalglish re-signed Ian Rush from Juventus. Rush's time in Italy hadn't worked out. He wanted to come home. Dalglish wanted him back. Old partner, his friend. And suddenly, John Aldridge was expendable. Aldridge believed he could play with Rush and Peter Beardsley. But in an era of fewer substitutions, Dalglish had to choose. He chose Rush. Aldridge was prized out and sold to Real Sociedad in September 1989. Just like that, the 31-goal-a-season striker was gone. And here's the part that hurts. Aldridge was treated awfully. In his own words, Dalglish never gave him a reason for doing so, never explained, never justified, never even had the courtesy to sit him down and tell him why, just discarded him like 63 goals meant nothing. Aldridge later said it hurt a lot when he left. This was his dream, and Dalglish crushed it without explanation. Aldridge argued you don't sell someone who has scored 31 goals a season. He was right. Unless you value old friendships more than current form, unless you care more about nostalgia than performance. And Aldridge was bitter, very bitter, for a long time. This was about Dalglish's loyalty to his original partner, overriding any sentiment for his current star. Rush was Dalglish's friend, his old teammate. So Aldridge, the Scouser, the boyhood fan, prolific scorer, had to go. No explanation, no apology, just gone. Replaced by the past. Aldridge didn't lose his place because he wasn't good enough. He lost it because he wasn't Ian Rush. So what do we make of all this? These weren't accidents. These were the defining traits of Kenny Dalglish's managerial character. Blinding loyalty that became self-destructive. Cold ruthlessness that left players bitter and betrayed. An ideological battle for legacy that fractured friendships. The Suarez saga showed his loyalty at its worst. He created a dispute with Evra by proxy. He damaged his authority with his owners. He lost the faith of his captain. Aldridge and Carroll cases showed his ruthlessness. He was willing to discard fan favourites, prolific scorers, his own record signings, without explanation. Players became disposable assets. And Souness? That was a prickly friendship fractured by a failed revolution. Souness tried to dismantle the dynasty Dalglish built. The legend of King Kenny was built on loyalty. It was destroyed by it too. His inability to separate pride from principle, loyalty from logic, left a trail of broken relationships. These 5 men all felt the consequences of Dalglish's contradictions. And in 2012, when Liverpool sacked him, it felt like poetic justice, the moment the king lost his crown. So what do you think? Was Kenny Dalglish's downfall the cost of being too loyal or too ruthless? Drop your thoughts below and make sure you're subscribed. We've got more untold football feuds coming soon.